Lee Howell, tell us, the World Economic Forum annual meeting, the 38th, is starting in a couple of days. The theme this year is the power of collaborative innovation. What does that mean?
Well, it means many things to many people, but to simplify things, we should look at the global agenda today on two axes. One, on the vertical side, we can look at what are the issues that require collaboration, and on the horizontal, we can look at the issues that require innovation. Now, kind of imagine that, if you will. If you think of the issues that require a high degree of collaboration on the global agenda, a very simple one is the conclusion of the Doha trade round, a very important development trade round. That requires much more collaboration. On the innovation side, you have to think outside of a box a bit, but particularly look at something like aging. There are a number of countries that are going to face really the complexity of an aging society. It never occurred before in mankind's history, so they have to be innovative. That's the innovation piece. But there are plenty of issues on the global agenda that are very important, that are in fact require both collaboration and innovation. A classic example that I think we're all aware of is climate change. It requires a high degree of collaboration among all the stakeholders, and certainly it's going to require innovative ideas to remedy the problem. Another area is nuclear non-proliferation. Well, actually, fighting nuclear proliferation will require much more collaboration and certainly some innovation. And the list goes on. So if you look at the global agenda, the industry agenda, and the regional agenda in that context, you can see clearly then why the power of collaborative innovation is quite important.
So how will these themes be addressed over the coming days?
Well, the coming days, there's a flow to the annual meeting program, and I would invite viewers to visit our website because we have the full program there, which is unique if you compare us to other international organizations with respect to a meeting. But you can see the agenda and you'll understand the structure and the flow of the program. But what we do is we start really with an update on the first day and Davos and Wednesday, and we look at all the key geographies, updates on what's happening in Asia, Latin America, Africa, but also on major trends around technology. And clearly what's going to be important this year is the outlook for the global economy. And we're going to have a very big world economic brainstorming to really identify among all the stakeholders. And among them are going to be policymakers, Nobel laureates, media leaders, but to identify, at least to the best of our ability, what is the single greatest threat to global growth in 2008. And that's really how we start it. We get everybody involved in a dialogue, and through learning, we're able to raise the level of the discourse so that when it comes to action, people have really thought about the issues in advance. That will be really the curtain raiser. And of course, at the opening itself, we'll highlight two important issues this year. One will be really what's happening in terms of the progress on the issue of terrorism. We've invited the President of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, to come and to speak to that issue. We're also going to focus on climate change. Dr. Rajendra Pachauri, who recently shared the Nobel Prize with former Vice President Al Gore with respect to climate change, he'll be part of that discussion. And we'll also invite, of course, a number of eminent public figures who we will come to know in a few days. But more importantly, we'll have the engagement of an absolutely great cast of annual meeting co-chairs who represent really a number of important industries, but also geographies. And we have some former policymakers who are also going to be part of the annual meeting co-chair group.
So what are the other sessions that people should watch out for here on YouTube?
I think one key is that I think people are very much focused today on climate change. And what we're focusing on this year is one of the key derivative issues, which is really water scarcity. If you look at the globe in terms of its key environmental challenges, I know climate change preoccupies us, but really we're now struggling with water scarcity, and we're going to have really other impacts around it. We're now seeing food prices rising. We know that there's also potential conflicts that may really attach themselves to this problem. So we're going to really focus on water scarcity, and we're delighted to have, for example, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, as well as very eminent industry leaders to be really engaged on this issue right at the outset of the annual meeting 2008.
What about financial risk, financial crisis, the subprime crisis? Will that be a theme?
Absolutely. And in fact, I mentioned our World Economic Brainstorming, but we are going to have two major sessions as well that I think viewers can appreciate and will be able to enjoy. One is on systemic financial risk. We're really going to examine the fallout, but also of the current subprime and liquidity crisis, but looking at what should be done from a regulatory framework as well as from an industry perspective to avoid future shocks to the system. But I think it's a very pertinent and relevant discussion to engage in at the beginning of the year, as we know there's lots of market volatility and concern about this. We're also going to focus on the global economic outlook. And here again, I would invite viewers to be part of that, because we're going to hear from not only the issue of if the U.S. economy slows down, what will that mean for the rest of the world, but we're also going to hear from other economies that are may be able to weather the storm and may be able to get through this. But I think by and large people are concerned about the economy, so we'll focus a tremendous amount of attention on that, as well as new actors in the financial markets, such as sovereign wealth funds. I think last year focus was on private equity funds. The year before that, hedge funds. Well, now there's a third fund that people are very eager to understand more about, and that is the sovereign wealth funds. So that and other issues around financial stability, volatility, and risk management will be at the core of the discussions in the annual meeting.
Is there any country that will stand out this year at the annual meeting?
Goodness, we have 27, right at this moment, 27 heads of state and government coming, so it's a bit unfair to point out, to flag any of them, because they're all important. I will say this, though, I think we're excited the fact that we do have representation from all the key economies of the industrialized world, but also from the developing and emerging markets as well, particularly the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. I would like to highlight one country because they have an important responsibility in 2008, and that's Japan, which will be chairing the G8, and they will host the G8 summit in July. And we're very much looking forward to welcoming the Prime Minister to Davos for the Prime Minister to share what will be on the G8 agenda this July.
Can you say one last word about the closing session? How will that be presented?
Well, the closing session, I think, will be a unique opportunity, again, for viewers. In fact, because for the first time, we're going to work in collaboration with CNN to actually develop a program around the closing, which is not going to be a summary of what's happened in the annual meeting, but really a forward-looking discussion based on the discussions in the annual meeting about what are the major trends that are going to really impact our lives from now until the end of the year. And we'll have, again, a great group of co-chairmen and women in this discussion. And I invite your viewers to catch that early on, as well as to look forward to it when it's broadcast on the air.
And I guess the Davos question will continue the discussion on YouTube afterwards.
Absolutely, and that's really what we want to do. This is a year-round exercise. As you pointed out, this is our 38th edition of the annual meeting, so we will be working on day one, right after the annual meeting, on the 39th edition, and we hope very much that the YouTube audience can be part of it and that this dialogue continues.